Yes. So you are speaking to the one, the only DJ Stones, and with us over here is what is your name, sir?
So my name is Tolisa, and I'm the co-founder of Afrinova Digital. Sorry, it's Tolisa Vuza, the co-founder of Afrinova Digital. And Afrinova Digital owns the digiToken platform that we're here to talk about today.
Okay, that's fantastic. Before we carry on, we want to know more about you as a person. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yes, I like that topic actually. Excuse me. So yeah, so I mean, I'm a rural boy, so born and bred in the rural Eastern Cape, and that's where I completed my, lower grades of school until high school. And then I then migrated, to Cape Town, and I did my university education at UWC, University of the Western Cape, and I studied computer science. So I did my BSc honors and master's degrees in computer science. And then I moved back, to Johannesburg. Well, not back, I moved to Johannesburg. It was the first time to start my employment. And I worked for a variety of companies essentially in Johannesburg. I mean, starting from, I don't know if you know a company called SAP, big German software. Yeah, big software company, German software giant. So I worked there as a developer, and then I moved into the banking industry, worked for Standard Bank as a solution architect, an enterprise architect, then moved into consulting, worked for PwC, worked for Accenture. So I've been around the block, basically. But currently I'm a married man with 3 kids and a beautiful wife.
Amazing.
So that's pretty much it about who I am. Yeah.
No, amazing. So you are a solutions architect. That is great to hear. I am also pulling towards that path.
That's awesome.
Yes, no, it's great to hear. So secondly, you are in the IT industry. Hearing about you and hearing what you've done and where you've worked, if you've named some big companies as well. What can you describe the IT industry as? What can you tell us about the IT industry?
Look, I mean, it's obviously a very interesting industry, right? Given the context of where the world is going, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about systems and automation and digital in general, I mean, even now on a digital platform, I mean, Zoom is a digital platform. Wouldn't be able to do this interview during this COVID time if Zoom or any of these online platforms were not there. So from that perspective, I actually look at IT, as a key component of our lives, because without it, really, we would be almost doomed, right, in a number of areas in our lives, to be honest, given the challenges that we have. But I think on the other hand, I think if I look at Africa and I look at South Africa, I think we still have a long way, to get our youth and to get our young ones, to get into this space. I think it's a space of creativity.
Yeah.
It's certainly a space of hard work.
Yeah.
But it's also a space of reward. I think if you are a creative person, if you're a person that can, withstand a little bit of pain, it can be painful at times.
A lot.
But it can be. But it also needs patience. If you're a patient person and you have passion, then it's fine. So I mean, to describe it, I think it's an absolutely necessary, industry. It's exciting, can be difficult, but something that's very exciting going forward for the future. I mean, I think a lot of focus will be in this space. It's already in this space across all the industries and across, different facets of people, in the way they live. You have, cars now that are autonomous, that are being developed. You have robots, that are starting to serve people in restaurants. You have people checking in, ordering Uber, for example, things like that. So very exciting space across a number of dimensions. Yeah.
No, that is very, very cool. This is the tech show that you're on, so we love tech. We love speaking about tech. It's tech business and the ace for anything, but we love tech. We like speaking about tech, and to have you on the show is amazing because you create tech. So now tell
That's
us
awesome.
more about your application. And by the way, we are also joined here by my co-host, DJ
Okay.
Sim.
I don't know if you
Okay.
guys can hear me.
Oh, we can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't want to chime in. You look like you're on a roll there. I'm so sorry. So
Finally, I'm on a
I was
roll.
just kind of sitting in. No, not you, not you. It was Tolisa. No, not you. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No, no problem. No problem. Nice meeting you, DJ Sim. No problem. Thanks for having me.
So much. But yeah, you can continue.
Okay, yeah. So the next question, tell us about the application that you have built or you guys are working on, the digiToken.
Yeah, I mean it's something quite exciting for us, right? And we like talking about it. So and thanks for giving us an opportunity to chat to you guys about it. So digiToken is actually a platform, right? And I'll explain why, the word and the emphasis on platform is important. So I mean, if you look at architectures, of different, advanced, systems and platforms, they actually are multi-layered. So multi-layered basically means you have what the people see, which is often called an app. Of course, the app has logic, on its own, that lives on it. So to say, if you click this button, do this, check that, is this 10 digits? Is it 5 digits? Is it empty? Those kind of things. I mean, those are pretty, easy things to do. But we also have, core, what we call the core engine, which drives, a lot of what the app does, because it submits data and a lot of things happen, and there's integration to other systems, there's calculations, there's certain checks that happen in the backend. Then we have the back office, which is what is used by the business to actually see what transactions have gone through and which transactions, have happened, and that's all important. So it's actually a fully fledged, platform that, with due respect, we see as equivalent to a normal banking. Of course, the banking platform would have, much higher security, but that's something that we're heading towards, as we increase our capabilities. So it's a platform, and the reason we've built the platform really is because of a number of factors. One, obviously, we built it during the time when COVID was starting to actually, raise its ugly head, right?
Yeah.
And we saw an opportunity really for a specific market in our country that we feel is neglected, by other service providers. And we're talking about the masses of people in the rural areas and our townships, right? And that's really where the co-founder, of the company, my business partner, and myself come from. So we actually come from that type of setting. And we said, hang on, what can we actually do, for the gogos and the madalas that actually have to travel to town to actually, transact and drive certain services, but also it was on the realization that the uptake of, the mobile devices is actually on the high, right? It's on the rise. A lot of people are actually buying, what you call smart devices, and smart devices obviously allow you, to be able to have these apps running on the phone. So what we then said is, okay, let's actually build something, that can actually bring, as you can see on the tech, payoff line, we say convenience in your pocket. That can actually bring you convenience in your pocket. And the next step there to think about was which services are actually very important as a start, to actually launch, as part of the platform. And those services, and maybe we can talk about them later, but are around prepaid, products. People use prepaid electricity, people buy, airtime, and people buy data. And of course, a lot of our masses have got accounts with retail, shops. They've got personal loans with the likes of African banks, Standard Bank, and all these other, service providers. But also people pay for, other products like DSTV, TV, SABC TV license, but also, things like their, speeding fines. And those kind of services, if you think about them, people would either have to go to a shop, walk in and actually, transact. And it happens like that, right? When someone wants to pay for a DSTV, they actually have to walk out of their house. But that's one dimension. We then said, hang on, but how do we then, create a model that is, helpful to the people in these areas? Then we came with what we call, an agent, model. And basically an agent model means you can sign up as an agent and you can use, the platform to actually drive and help, deliver these transactions. Because we're not naive. We realized there's obviously two legs. There's a self-service leg where you can do this on your own. But we were not naive that, people will start doing that, all of them. It would be nice, but we were not naive about that. People still go to the shop. They still go to the spaza shop around the corner. How do we empower the person in that spaza shop or the owner of the spaza shop to actually transact on the platform, for the customer, but actually make something for themselves, and that's the important part thing in the context of the rising numbers of unemployment in our country. So I think in a nutshell, that's really what the digiToken platform is about at this point. I might add though, and I'm not going to talk about that, we are actually on the next phase of some exciting, offerings that we're building. So what I would say is watch this space in terms of what's coming up as the next set of products and the direction that it's taking. But I can't talk about that for obviously competitive reasons. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We can sign a non-disclosure.
No, it's rather not to you, but obviously I'm in the public
to competitors.
Now with 100%. I don't know who's this.
No, it's quite interesting, like you said, this is a tech and business. So two points that you brought up in this whole discussion is, number one, the tech aspect, which is the obviously the platform you guys are building, and then there's also the business aspect whereby you looked around and you saw a problem, you saw an issue and you were like, hey, how do we solve it? And I kind 100%. Of like that approach that you guys took. It really shows that for people to make it, they just need to find that one problem that nobody else sees and solve it first, and
100%. So
you give a good platform with it.
No, 100%. I mean, I think you're spot on. But I mean, I think for us, it's not about, so I mean, if you look at the different business models, that people build for the first time, something that was in there, that build it, I mean, if you look at the other model, so I mean, if you look at when the car was built, when the first aeroplane was built, those things didn't exist at that time, and a whole lot of other products that didn't exist. For example, if you look at, Microsoft, I mean, they first built, the software to actually give life to a PC, right? And those were the first guys to actually build something like that. But you've had then, other companies. I mean, if you look at Apple, they basically took the whole PC world and, turned it upside down, and they built beautiful software. I'm on a Mac right now, and I'm doing the Zoom on a Mac. So for us, it was not necessarily about building something that's not there, but it was about saying, how do we actually build something that talks to a business model for the customers that want to focus on, number one, and number two, for the problem statement that we have. And we found a very nice, link between the two. So I mean, I think we always look at technology as just an enabler, and technology must be built, to support a certain business process and a certain customer experience. And that's really the key thing that takes our time, But there's other things around the technology aspects that are very important, like, scalability. What we're building, is it something that can support large volumes, if it were to grow very quickly? And that's a very important, consideration to make. For example, our platform runs on the cloud, right? I don't know if you know about the cloud platforms. I mean, you've got obviously AWS, you've got Google Cloud, you've got, the likes of Oracle Cloud, and you've got other platforms. So those were considerations we made to say, where do we run the platform? What is the functionality of features that we build into the platform? Also going forward, in terms of the roadmap, and who's our target customer, and what is the price point that we want to come in, at, in terms of the different services, that we're offering. So those are all considerations.
Well, that is amazing, man. I'm quite excited to hear about your application. I think it's actually quite great. Myself as a developer as well, hearing the technologies that you're using, I'm glad that you went cloud-based and not your normal in-house architecture. So it's quite cool. Now I'm gonna ask a random question. Are you ready for this one?
No, please go. Go for it. No.
What smartphone do you use and why? So for myself,
well, I use into the good stuff.
It's a Samsung. So I'm a Samsung guy. So what smartphone do you use and why?
So for me, I mean, so I'm an ex-Samsung guy. So firstly, I mean, I'm not into gadgets. Strangely enough, I'm a technology guy, but I'm not really into gadgets. But I mean, I use an iPhone. And the reason for that is just the practicality, right? And the beauty and the aesthetics that you get obviously on the iPhone. But I found even a better reason, because I also use a Mac. And I'm really enjoying the interoperability between, the iPhone and the Mac in terms of, data syncing that I can get on my phone. So, for example, I have everything that I need, on the phone, and I can literally just get, all my documents, and of course you can do that with other devices, but I just find it quite easy to do that on the on the Apple device. But more so, we do have obviously the Android devices for testing the app across different platforms as well. But my primary phone is the iPhone for those reasons I stated.
Okay, I know that's a good reason. I think DJ Simp will be happy with that. He's a big Apple lover.
I actually have a question based on that answer. So I just want your take on the whole privacy debate that we've been having in the past couple of years, of people just selling data and the whole privacy issue. So I know you've probably seen what happened with Facebook and Congress, and what's also happening in different countries around like privacy in general, and the selling of data. What's like your opinion on that?
So it's a catch-22 situation, right? I mean, it's a balance between morality and business, right? If you look at the Facebook business model, I mean, where do they generate their revenue? It's really on advertising, right? I mean, they don't charge us to be on the platform. So what they do is they actually data mine, so they do data mining, and then they actually target certain ads, certain people, and they do this on behalf of their clients. So if you look at their revenue model, the big chunk of it, over 90%, literally comes, from that. So that's on the business side. It's actually bad, because now what you're starting to do is give people an opportunity not to, allow certain things to be tracked. Of course, there's the data that you load and all those things, but there's other things they need to track, like your location, where were you, what were you likely, buying in that location based on certain things that we're doing, and also other apps that may be feeding data to them. But there's then the morality side, which is actually a problem, because I mean, some of the things I track, border on actually invading your privacy, right? I mean, who wants to know if I went to a Shebeen, for example, in downtown Johannesburg? I mean,
the South African government.
I probably don't want them to know about that. That's none of their business. It's my business. But I mean, I think it's okay, in terms of asking people to provide that permission rather than simply just doing that in the background. But I think it won't go away, right? I mean, if you look at the troves of data that Google, collects, we don't even know about it across, their platforms, Gmail, the Google search engine, so it's quite a lot of things that they collect. So I think it's just a balance. But I think as long as the user or the person is given the control around, agreeing, whether they want their stuff, collected or not, then it's perfectly fine. But if I come to the local context, I mean, if you look at what we have now with Popia, I think the local companies are going to battle. They've always battled. I mean, I've had people phone me, quoting my data from Vodacom, and you ask yourself, where are they getting this information? So if you look at the banking world, for example, people have access to people's phone numbers, and that's where credit card fraud happens. Someone has someone's card details, someone has someone's cell phone number, and they phone them and say, give me the PIN, and they're holding the card, and they actually do an online transaction. So from a technology perspective and from a security perspective locally, I think sadly, you wouldn't expect banks to be that lax, but we do see that the numbers that are published are quite high, by SAPRIC, if you look online, for example, across those things. So I think the long and the short of it is it's a balance between the two. Business has to go on. It's helpful for me to see the ad, for example. It's helpful, for someone to understand what's happened to me. I mean, I was just reading a good story about the Apple Watch, and they've got they've got a fall detect type functionality. And this person fell, they got sick and they fell, and this thing dialed 911 because it detected that this person has fallen, based on whatever they've built in it. And if you think about such kind of data, that's for the good, right? Because that's actually protecting your health. But then on the other hand, you've got data for the bad, where people bombard you with things and offer you things that you don't want, or even use it for other motives, right? Like changing. Because I mean, I don't know if you watched a show on Netflix. I forgot about what it's called, but where they actually use the data to actually try and engineer how you see the world, and and certain things they show you to try and actually basically just play with your mind. So that's my view on it. I know it's a mouthful, but
that's interesting. That's a new take. Normally we have people who are against, people who are for. You saw the silver lining in between. Yeah, it is business and morals at the end. Yeah,
I'm a fair guy. Yeah, I'm a fair guy. Yeah, I like looking at it.
So now, the last question I'd like to ask, you run an IT company, you in IT, so what are one of the misconceptions people have about, someone who runs an IT company?
So that's a very interesting one. So let me maybe explain. So we run a group company called the Sunday Digital Group, and there's three parts of what we do. The first part is consulting. So consulting is basically advisory work. So I walk into a client and I say, look, this is how you should be structured, from an IT perspective. This is what your IT strategy should be, talking to your business strategy. If you are going to deliver what the business wants to do, you need to put in place all these programs and things. But also on design, right? Solution architecture, not building, design, taking a requirement and saying, this is how you design your particular solution that you need to build to support that requirement. That's the first part of our business. The second part of our business then is what digiToken falls under. We would build products. So digiToken is one of those products. We've got other products that we build, that are based on automation and digital technologies. And the last part of it is actually where we build, and I know there's a fine line, because we actually don't build in AfriNova. We actually conceptualize products. Then we have a part of the business called Innovity Africa, which actually builds those products. So it actually becomes a client, to the other businesses, to the other parts of the business. So if you look at it in that context, right? So what we cover is the end-to-end value chain for digital transformation, right? And that talks to any industry. So for example, we've got a client in the financial services space. We've got a client in the health space. We support other partners, in the public sector space. But when you talk about someone, to someone about IT, they don't think that far. They think, computer, hardware, you're connecting cables, you're fixing a
printers.
thing, you're fixing a projector, so people don't see that far, right? So, and I mean, obviously other people understand it, but people don't see that far. But also people don't understand and realize the deep value, of IT, right? Because they don't really understand that. And we're saying that we like using that every business is a digital business. And that's becoming, even more so, I mean, if you look at banks and what they're doing, they're building things like malls now, where they're saying, look, we're going to start closing the branches. We're going to need less people in the branches. We're actually going online, because you know why they want to go online? Because the operating costs online are actually less than paying salaries to people and putting coffee there and having printers and physical things and security and electricity. All those things, then become, what you pay for in your cloud infrastructure, which takes care of all of those things. Hopefully not the coffee and the people, obviously. But if you think about it, I mean, just use an example of our business. We are very low in the numbers in our business in terms of people, because a lot of what we do is automated. Even the tickets that we get, for support are actually tickets, that are user related, because the user just doesn't know how to do something, not because something is broken. And that talks to where we've built and the choices we've made, in the platforms. And I know that I digress now, but to answer your question on the misconception, people think, you are playing with some hard things, and you are touching some hard things, and you are wiring things, and so they think that way.
It's quite cool, and the whole thing you brought up about automation and how things are, like how the industry is now basically doing the jobs that would have been repetitive and minuscule, and they are making it both cheaper and better. We had a discussion on one of our previous shows about the whole thing of jobs being taken by IT and stuff, and it all came down to, it's not specialized jobs, it's all about the ones that are repetitive and stuff. And it's quite cool to see. It's quite cool to also hear that the impact it's having in your business, whereby you're saying that the tickets you guys are getting is basically just user interaction, how they use your software, rather than the software itself breaking, because then it shows that like I think Elon Musk said it, the less you have people involved in a process, the less you're going to have problems inside that process, because if your computer is doing all of it, you're going to be able to, you can get it to do it right. So that's quite cool. I know I said that was the last question, but I personally need to ask this question. No, for sure. I need to know this. This is going to, for those who are not as technical, it might be a bit confusing, But what is your favorite code stack? What code stack do you use and why? So your set of programming.
So yeah, so we are, I mean, that's a very good question, and I like talking about this because that's one of the things that make us different. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you know about low code, if you've heard about something called low code.
No.
So you can Google it when you get a chance.
Yeah.
But basically low code. So I mean, if you look at business, right?
Yeah.
One of the biggest pains with IT, and I know this, you know, having worked in IT, having worked as a developer, is just the speed at which we develop and build things, right?
Yeah.
We are very slow, right? And we're resource intensive. So for example, to build an online platform, you'll need you know, about 20 developers, some of them sitting in India, you know, some of them in Johannesburg, you know, doing a whole lot of things. And that doesn't work anymore, you know, in the new world. In the new world, you've got a very integrated process of development, right? What we call DevOps, you know, where you want to actually link everything that you're doing, including the deployment and the management of things that may break. And a high, you know, resource, you know, intensive, a very resource intensive process for development is very chaotic. And we've seen that because things break. And that is why you've got systems offline sometimes, you know, even for the most, you know, prominent companies. So some people then realized this a few years ago that actually, you know what, the software development process in line with the digital transformation objectives should not be something of secrecy, you know, to the business. You know, the business should be able to sit with IT or a developer and actually point at the screen and say, no, that's not my logic. Because if you think about what you built, you know, more than, you know, 90% of the time, you're actually doing if and else and applying rules, right? Yes. And those rules should be easy to explain to the business without showing the business, you know, a while loop or a for loop or, you know, an if statement in Java, you know, or C# or .NET. So what low code is actually doing is then wrapping all of that complexity and presenting a graphical view of building software. So for example, if you build an app, if you build a UI or you build a portal, it's literally dragging and dropping certain components. And of course, there will be parts where you need to write code and actually wrap, you know, some of those things and expose them as components that to use. So we are a company that partners with a low code, you know, provider, a low code platform provider called OutSystems. So we eat, breathe, you know, we eat, breathe, sleep OutSystems, you know. So we build our technology on OutSystems. We consult on OutSystems. We'll build, you know, other apps for clients on OutSystems. And there's a number of reasons for that. We've got available, you know, plugins we can use for integration to multiple systems. We've got beautiful user experiences and templates that are available on the platform, which allows us not to reinvent the wheel. And number three, we can actually build at a much higher pace than people that are actually building using Java, C++, or whatever, any of those complicated things. We don't like seeing those things. You know, we like low code. And I think the last reason, which is important, is that the platform is cloud native. So whatever you're building is already running on the cloud, and it takes care of some of the operational things. For example, it will tell you if there are things that are going to break as you build what we call, you know, true change. As you build your software, it actually tells you that, hang on, what you're building is not going to be compatible with something that you've already deployed. As you try to deploy, it will say, please, you're actually going to miss a component, you know, a Cordova component that you're using, for example, if there are some of the components that need to talk to the hardware on the thing like the phone, you know, camera, all those things that you're doing. So we find that gives us joy, but we are also of the opinion that that's the future, right? Of software development, as seen by, you know, as mentioned by guys like Gartner, our industry analysts, and Forrester. They talk about that as the new way into the future. So we are people that live in the future. You know, we are present today, but we live in the future. We know what's coming, and we see what's coming, and we're ready for that.
Well, that is quite interesting. I actually know OutSystems. I've never used it. I've heard of it. I've never used it.
I think you must try. I think you must download it. Sorry to interrupt. I think you must download it. There's a free version. You can create your own environment. Just create an app and see how quick it is. There's tutorials there. If you're a developer, you'll actually find it quite easy to use, and you'll build a mock-up. There's also other apps that you might be able to install that have been built. Sorry, the other thing with OutSystems as well, that's very critical for us, is that we have what we call the Forge. And the Forge is basically like a community of developers that build apps and components that they make available to others. Let me give you an example. If I want to do WhatsApp integration,
Yeah.
I've got a component that allows me to do the integration without having to reinvent the wheel and write code again. So I can actually drag and drop that component, put in some, credentials. Obviously, I need to have the account. For example, for SMS, for emails, we use cloud-based platforms. We use the likes of Twilio, we use the likes of Sendinblue, and those are platforms that are cloud-based. And for us to integrate to them is a breeze because people have built those components. Biometrics, to put biometrics on our apps, a breeze because components already exist that we can use. We also contribute our own components. For example, we've just contributed a component for validating a South African ID number, and other people can use that component, because it's available there. So that's the power, and that's where the world is going, for example, to integrate things like maps on your app, directions, all these fancy things you see on Uber, Uber Eats and all these other apps, that's really nothing, to integrate those things. So from a cost perspective, from an efficiency perspective, we truly believe in what we do.
Wow, no, that's good. That's good. If it sounds very seamless to add these things on, I'll definitely give it a try. But as we end the show, where can we find your platform?
So our platform is available on both Android and iOS stores. So if you search for digiToken, so DIGI, DG, so TOKEN, so digiToken, one word. So no spaces in between, and you'll find us there. So that's the first app that's going to come up when you use that word, at digiToken, and you can install it on your Android phone or your iOS phone. Remember, there are two modes in it. So when you see it, will say register as, there's an agent mode. There's also obviously a client mode. So actually it says buy or sell. So buy means you are registering as a client, meaning it's me. I want to use, the app, or I can register as an agent. And by the way, you can register as both if you want. The agent mode essentially allows you to be able to sell or to help other clients, and you make commission. The app actually calculates commission based on the transactions that you are making. And that commission gets made available to you to actually use to transact. Because remember, we have a prepaid system. Or you can actually just get that money paid out to you if you want, and you feel you've made a lot of commission. So yeah, please download. But also we are available on www.digitoken.africa. That's our website. And you can read up on a whole lot of information and find our contact details there. We are also on all social networks. We're on Instagram, digiToken is the name. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter as well. So if you search for digiToken, please do go there, follow us, and drop us a message if there's a question. We would love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having us. Thank you for enlightening us on actually a lot of the points that we went through here was fantastic, was fabulous. And for all the listeners out there, go onto your app store, go onto your Play Store, or go onto Google and go onto the site, go onto the app, download it right now. We're waiting. Have you gotten it yet? Great. And
I'm getting it right now.
Yes, and also drop a review, drop a good review, 5-star. Already from hearing it, I can tell you that it's a 5-star application. And thank you so much for coming on. It was really great.
Thank you for having us.
And that is a wrap of this show from me, the one, the only, the Duke of TBA, DJ Stones. And with me here,
it's me, the Sim Master himself. This discussion was amazing for me as an entrepreneur. But yeah, it's me, the Simp Lord himself, DJ Simp. Thanks, everyone.
And with us here was the amazing.
It was the amazing Xolisa Vuza from digiToken. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You're signing out.
Yes.
Peace.
Cheers.
Signing out. Peace.
Cheers.